So today I'm really excited to be joined by Kat from Comic Relief. We're going to be talking about an awesome and, as you'd probably expect, hilarious recent project we worked on together, which was to come up with a brand new regular giving proposition for Comic Relief. But it launched on Valentine's Day very recently, and we'll be talking today about the story behind how we got there and what plans are there for it in the future with the night of TV happening next Friday. So thanks for joining. It's a very busy period, I imagine. But on that note, let's kind of get stuck in with the first question. So can you tell me a little bit, Kat, about where the brief came from and the reasons behind Comic Relief wanting to introduce a new regular giving product?
Yeah, sure. So I guess when people probably think of comic relief, they will probably typically think of Red Nose Day or perhaps Sport Relief. And, those are two incredible key moments in the year for us as an organization, but also for the nation who come together, get involved and raise lots of money to help other people. And that's amazing. And we're still very much continuing that and have high ambitions for those things. However, as an organization, we are trying to put a bit more focus on our 365 fundraising, and regular giving is such a key income stream for pretty much every charity out there. It provides us with that long-term sustainable income, and then helps us better forecast income, and then in turn helps us to actually better plan how and where to place those valuable funds to have the best possible impact. So, we have had regular giving in place just as a very basic standard program, but it hadn't really had the focus and attention it really needs. So we're looking at it as this huge growth area with a lot of potential. And then also it helps us bring in some of the most committed supporters that you can get across the sector. So we also want to build better relationships with those people, because for someone to say that they're going to give X amount every month going forwards is pretty amazing. So we want to make sure that those people know that we appreciate them and that their ongoing support is really valued by us, rather than it perhaps feeling quite transactional.
That makes a lot of sense. And I guess it was interesting from our perspective to see you coming at it from, I guess, such a unique position, which is part and parcel of being comic relief, right? I think a lot of charities your size are dealing with massive regular giving programs that have been struggling in the past few years. And you're in a position of having a unique proposition, which you have a fairly relatively small program, right? That you're looking to try to grow and kind of refresh, which is super interesting. So we went through a very short, sharp, exciting sprint together to come up with a new kind of proposition, a regular giving idea for you. There was a whole host of new ideas that came out of it, which maybe we can touch on one or two. And we ran the process in person at our offices, so we could kind of work as a big one team. And we did it at pace. So before we kind of get into the ideas, I'd love to hear about the process and how you and the team kind of found it.
I really vividly remember you saying at the start, trust the process. And I feel even then I was really? Sure.
You didn't believe me.
Not to say I don't trust you, Ben, but really? But, ultimately, it is a sprint. So is realistically not a long time frame at all. But being in a room filled with people, mostly fundraisers, but not just fundraisers, and then yourselves, it really did help to spark lots of ideas and bounce ideas off of each other. And everyone in that room brought ideas to the table, which were great. And ultimately, we were encouraged to think differently, take different approaches to thinking innovatively, which I think we all needed. And actually, dedicating the time to do that is really important, because we're also busy in our day to day. We could so easily get caught up in something for Red Nose Day instead, but actually being okay, no, we're going to dedicate this time to this sprint session to really focus on this thing which everyone's been talking about, we need to put attention into, to actually put that attention into, and then having yourselves to facilitate that for us yes, we landed with one product proposition at the end. There were actually like a couple in there that we were like, we really like these, and having to make quite a difficult decision, but like a nice decision to have to make of like which one do we take forward here.
I'm glad to hear that was true in the end. But you're right. I think there's something you said there, which is super important, which regardless of the process, there's something just incredible about getting some good brains together and spending some dedicated time, which is really tough, right? In your kind of day jobs when you're kind of flitting between Zoom meeting here and other projects there. And we had some amazing brains on that sprint. So it was a lot of fun for us too. Obviously, we leaned into humor as a large part of this sprint, and you referenced a couple of the ideas that have come out. This is obviously something which is quite unique, quite comic relief. Not many charities can lean this heavily into humor as part of it. We had a super interesting shortlist. So I'd love just to hear a little bit about kind of shortlist of ideas and what kind of came out beyond the winning idea.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to like lean into what makes us unique as comic relief, and especially where I think our challenge is that so many charities have a regular giving program or product. We're going into this space thinking we need to stand out, we need to do something that's going to encourage people to sign up to this. So how do we do that? And ultimately we needed something that like speaks to our brand and is comic relief like through and through. I mean, one thing that did come out of the sprint session that we have put into development as part of this final product is our like origin story. So we filmed this like lovely piece to camera with Lenny Henry, where he explains like why comic relief started and why we continue to do what we do today, and that need for ongoing support. Because ultimately, comic relief all started with a bunch of comedians coming together, making people laugh to raise money for good causes. And that's what we're still doing now. So with the product, we're also pulling together like little bits of more exclusive, funny pieces of content that makes our regular givers like smile and feel good about their donations, and definitely exploring some of like the weirder and wonderful ways we can do that, and finding the humor in various situations, because that's what people do in life. Even like in challenging times, people can find a reason to smile. So kind of like finding ways to bring that all into the product is something we're really doing now. And as like a sort of incentive piece at the moment to encourage people to sign up and kind of show them what they might be able to expect to come on their onward journey is some like behind the scenes content from Red Nose Day. So like we have sketches that are being filmed. So some of like the behind the scenes bits and like a behind the scenes backstage chat with a couple of the hosts.
I've signed up, so I'm looking forward to seeing what comes through on that front. I'd love you now to tell us a little bit about the winning idea. Like, what was the proposition that won? Why was it the most interesting for you? And how did that kind of come about?
Sure. So, I mean, our winning idea is called Not Just a One Night Stand. So, it's essentially us saying we're not just Red Nose Day. So, we're really leaning into this idea of being a relationship, because it is a commitment to donate monthly. So, while we have our big night of fun together, we want to keep the conversations going afterwards, build on that relationship, see where it takes us. And with that was like so leaning into the humor side of it, like throughout, like on our landing page now, which is live, we have 3 price prompts, which are like the fling, which is £5 a month. And then we've got like Going Steady, which is £10 a month. And then for £25 a month, it's Lovers in the Air, because like that is a really valuable, generous commitment to give that much every month. A lot of people, when they're looking for a relationship, want someone who can make them laugh, and comic relief can do that. So there's that element. There's the fact that together we can change the world and actually have a really great impact on people's lives. And then thirdly, the fact that we're flexible, because especially like in the times that we're in now, we need to be really understanding that asking someone to give on a regular basis is a lot, and people might be struggling some months. And especially as a charity and the cause that we are, all to do with poverty, we need to be understanding of that. So allowing people that flexibility of like, if you need to pause your donations, that's okay. If you need to decrease them for a little bit, that's okay. Making sure that people know that we understand that, and that's absolutely fine, and they pull the strings. And then in return for their donations, it's very much a case of having the element of sharing impact stories with them. So like really highlighting the work that we're doing and providing real examples of how donations like theirs can really make a difference to people's lives for the better. And then there's that other element of surprise and delight. So where we utilize our relationships that we have with celebrities or partners, because utilizing those relationships to offer our regular givers something a bit more exclusive or special to make them feel good. So that is ultimately what the product is, and it does feel very different. I mean, it's only gone live recently. We'll see how it does go, and it is ultimately one big test, but it's definitely something different and exciting and fresh.
It was one of those ideas that I think once we kind of started working up as a group, everyone was excited right from the beginning. It felt good straight away, but there's always that reticence, I think, when you work something up in the room, especially if it's funny. If you're kind of in a room with a bunch of people, you're never quite sure how that's going to play out outside the room. So I remember we were, as always, like a little bit nervous and apprehensive with the user testing and the audience testing we did. But exactly as you said, I think there are a couple of things that really stood out when we did the kind of early audience testing. The first one was the humor, right? That's something so unique to what you do, and people really appreciated that at a time when there's so many multiple like crises going on at the same time. Like now more than ever feels like a time to lean into that. And as you mentioned, you're building in like substance underneath that, which is really critical. And I think we were surprised a little bit about how important that flexibility feature was for people, and really cool to see you've kind of kept that as a feature and built that out. So you've mentioned, I guess, what the idea is, how it launched. Before we get into like the launch plans and what's happening next, I'd love to hear about like how you launched it, because it wasn't that long we were together in a room. It wasn't that long ago we were together in a room as a small group of us, and you've got this out the door really quickly. There's been a full page ad in the Guardian recently. What was the process of kind of getting to that launch point and doing it in such a fast-paced way?
Ultimately, after that sprint session, we needed the support from colleagues across the whole organization. So that was the most critical thing, essentially getting people's buy-in and support and time and resource to help make things happen. I mean, it's never an easy thing to do when people are obviously managing their workloads anyway, with like Red Nose Day coming up and all those sorts of bits and pieces. But there definitely has been like an appetite across the organization and from higher up to make something of regular giving. And I think with the product that it is, and it actually feeling very different and exciting, helped with that. I guess in a sense, that was a very fortunate and lucky thing for us, that people were keen to help out. But with that, making sure that like roles and responsibilities were super clear, putting schedules in place, prioritizing what was most important, what's going to take the most time to deliver. So like something like flexible giving, for example, that was something we really needed to work out and see what's possible, what's not possible, what are the cost implications and all those sorts of things. And then also deciding things like, what is this supported journey going to look like? Thinking about where we are leaning into this like theme of it being like a relationship, kind of mapping it out almost like the sort of milestones that you might expect in a relationship, and having that follow through the journey, and having fun with it as well. So there's that element. And then also, how do we even get people to sign up in the first place? So I think with the Guardian ad that you mentioned, that was just a weird time where I got like an email from someone who had like told me about that ad space, and they told me the date of it, and that was our plan to launch on 14th of February because it's Valentine's Day. And I was just like, it just feels like fate. So with that opportunity, we thought, let's take it. And with this whole proposition, it's something we can really play with and have fun with and test new things and test new avenues and channels with. So we're so keen to like try those sorts of things out and try new concepts. So with the Guardian ad, we did like a love poem concept because again ties in with the theme of this not just being a one night stand and relationship, and allows us to have fun with it. So lots of elements involved. The most key thing of all was getting the support from colleagues though, because I can't sit here and say, oh, I just did this on my own, because that would be a lie. So yeah.
I'd love to hear what the initial response has been like and what else you did other than the kind of Guardian ads.
Yeah, so we've seen a promising response so far. So on Valentine's Day, we had that Guardian ad. We also emailed a lot of our supporters that we could email to encourage them to be our Valentine, not just for that day, but 365. And we also contacted some of our previous regular givers, trying to win their love back with this new proposition. And we also put out a video on our social channels, which again, we kind of utilized our relationships with some of our celebrity friends to tell some like love themed jokes and bad chat up lines and things to kind of encourage people to embark on this new relationship with us. More recently, towards the end of February, we also had a comic relief live at the London Palladium, like a comedy night that Lenny Henry hosted. And we had, again, similar to the Guardian ad, some like love poems that we handed out to attendees as they arrived with an ask to sign up. And even just handing them out, actually, we got a lot of like lovely responses from people as they picked it up. So I think the whole concept has landed really well. We are seeing people sign up every day, which is great. I mean, it is a bit of a softer launch. So while I mean, I could already compare like February signups to last year's February signups, and we are doing better than last February. It is ultimately a bit of a softer launch because, as you can probably imagine, there's a lot happening right now at Comic Relief. Like Red Nose Day is very soon. So there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of things we're communicating with different audiences and like the public right now.
You've obviously got the night of TV next week, and can you share anything that might be happening over the next week or two, and any more future plans you have for the product?
In terms of not just a one night stand and how that fits into things, we are currently looking at where is best place to make that ask. We will have an ask during one of our shows. I mean, we really take over the BBC for like a good few hours. So at some point we will have like an ask within there, which it's just about us also finding the right time to do that because also we need to raise lots of one-off donations like we always do, and we want to aim big as always. Straight after that, we have the morning after email, which is going out to some of our regular givers who have signed up. So that will share with them some exclusive content. And again, it's the morning after the night before. So having a bit of fun and sharing some fun conversations with those people who have already shown their love. And then we've also got paid media activity, which will be going live the day after Red Nose Day. So some fun ads will be on like Meta and trying to encourage people to sign up. So we'll have a big push then, as well as a few occasional emails asking people to sign up with other additional content. But I mean, ultimately, it's an ongoing piece. It's continuous development. We'll continually be learning and testing things, seeing what lands well with people, what doesn't land well with people, and taking that forward when we plan future content. And really establishing the sort of surprise and delight moments that we do want to offer people, but also gathering constantly those impact stories to feed into their comms. So whilst of course we're going to lean into the humor, we still obviously want our supporters to know exactly the difference that they are making by giving monthly. I guess where it is a 365 piece, it is regular giving. It's not just about Red Nose Day. It's never ending really. So it's just onward development and we'll see how it goes.